The Day I Rescued a Hummingbird by Christy Collins. As a young child growing up in my rural childhood home, I was always witnessing God's glorious creations just by sitting at our bay window. As you looked out the window, you could see a beautifully landscaped 5-acre area filled with an assortment of flowers. My mom's hobby was working in her flower gardens and making our home heaven-like, with all the beautiful color flowers filling the woods. The bay window was where my family spent most of our time eating, working on projects, playing cards, and spending time watching birds. My father was a man of faith and love. He spent most of his life fathering 4 wonderful children. Not only was he special to my family, but he was also special to the community. He was an elementary school principal known to many as Mr. Bird. My father has been passed away now for almost 20 years, but will always be remembered for his love for the birds. I remember waking up on Saturday mornings and going into the kitchen to see my father with his extremely large binoculars, checking out all the different types of birds in the yard. He had his very own bird book that labeled all the types of birds in our area. He would search his book cover to cover until he found a bird that met the description of the one he was observing in the yard, and then he would date the page. The one type of bird I remember the best was the hummingbird. We always had a red hummingbird feeder hanging right outside the bay window. The feeder would draw in so many hummingbirds throughout the year, it was hard for my mom to even keep the feeder full. As much as I experienced watching hummingbirds flying back and forth from the bird feeders, I never would have imagined being able to hold a hummingbird. Well, I experienced this event the first year I went to college. I left my home, bound for a new school, with a sick father battling cancer and a strong mother at his side. I was not too eager to leave and start a new chapter of my life, but with educated parents, I knew what they expected for my future. I stayed in a college dorm room that was old with concrete walls and most windows were closed shut. The windows in our rooms would open, but the windows in the hallway and in the vending machine room were sealed tight. I'll never forget on a beautiful fall day I was studying in my room when I kept hearing a small tapping noise. I walked out into the hallway to see a hummingbird flying into the window trying to get out. What was I going to do? This hummingbird was sure to die if I couldn't help. As I moved closer to the bird, it quickly flew past me, zooming into the vending machine room, trying to exit through another sealed window. I knew its only hope for survival would be me catching the hummingbird. I tried over and over to catch it, but it was just too fast. I stayed with the tired bird until his wings started slowing. It was so exhausted that I was able to cup the hummingbird into my hands. I only had a short experience with that hummingbird, but it will never be forgotten. I was eager to go home that next weekend and share that special story with my father. It certainly brightened his day, and he loved listening to my story. Now, some 20 years later, I teach at the very school I attended in elementary school. This school is also where my father retired from education. In his honor, a courtyard was dedicated to him at the school. It was well designed with pretty landscape and a fish pond. The final touch was the bird bath and bird feeders in Mr. Bird's honor. I get to walk by this courtyard daily and remember him. My mother's garden and the famous bird hummingbirds even made the newspaper. See you in heaven, Dad. I'm sure the birds are even more glorious there, and the colors of the vibrant flowers are unimaginable.